Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Para una mejor experiencia, les solicitamos por favor que mantengan sus micrófonos en mute. Todo el material que presentaremos puede ser utilizado para difusión y promoción. Muchas gracias y que disfruten del evento.
Remember me? I am Natalie Suleman. At one point, I was one of the most hated people in America. I was Octomom.
Your name is plastered everywhere. Octomom is a welfare mom. Octomom had 8 babies just to be famous. These are all lies.
I'm taking them home this weekend, and I'm going back to normal life.
You're infamous. Normal life is no longer. There's been death threats.
People want me dead?
You and the babies.
That was always a dream of mine, to have a large family.
You have been called. You're responsible.
Mama's here. So cute. I love you.
What are you doing?
I'm working to feed my family.
What are these?
We have an offer for $1 million. You're the star.
I have to sell stories to take care of my kids. Everything I do revolves around my children. You might think you know Octomom, but you don't know me.
Hi Natalie, how are you? How you doing today? Bienvenidos a todos y cada uno de ustedes a este evento de Lifetime. Vamos a presentar en breve a Natalie Suleman. Natalie Suleman es más conocida como Octomãe y hoy, a través de una película de producción original de Lifetime Movies, vamos a poder conocer en vivo y en directo su verdadera historia, porque hoy está aquí con nosotros para contarnos la historia de su vida y cómo ella se convirtió en una película de Lifetime. Con ustedes, Natalie Suleman. Hi, Natalie. How are you doing? First and foremost, in your own words, who is Natalie Suleman?
The first word that pops into my head when I hear my own name is mom. I'm a mom. Like any other mom that would fight for her family, no matter what circumstance or what trial and tribulation and obstacle that she faces. So.
Looking back now, what do you think the world misunderstood the most about your decision to have so many children at once?
What the world misunderstood the most is what you just stated, that there was misinformation in regard to me wanting this many. I never wanted more than 7 children. I wanted one more after I had 6, which in and of itself is a lot of children for a single parent. I did not set out to have more than one more after I had 6 kids. That's number one. That's the greatest misconception.
And we are here for you to make it clear for everybody all the misconceptions about you and your life. And the most important question for everybody is, how have you balanced? What was the balancing act to be a mother, to be a woman, to be having your mental health in check, your finance in check, and be able to survive to tell the story?
I was in survival mode. It's called psychologically, it's called fight, flight, or frozen mode, and I'm a fighter. So I was an autopilot, and from the beginning, probably utilizing many coping mechanisms just to survive mentally. I was just like a machine moving 500 miles per hour and not having time to sit and feel any emotion or process any emotion. So I was able to then just continue on and on and on, working tirelessly, relentlessly to provide for my family. And then there was nothing I wouldn't have done to keep them safe and healthy and well adjusted, and they all are, and to this day.
I want to know what it means to you to be able to have not only your story tell in a Lifetime movie, but also to be the executive producer of that particular movie. What it means to you?
I was just beyond grateful and still am to be able to collaborate and share my true story with Lifetime, who has been, a long time provided a very safe platform for women to tell their truth and to share their true story and their perspective. I didn't really reflect on the executive producer. To me, that is, it's pretty superfluous. I'm so grateful to be able to have that opportunity to share my true story and share even my manuscript. I've written a book over the years, and to share my manuscript with the screenplay writer, I was ecstatic to be able to have that opportunity.
Now, we're going to show a clip so everybody can take a sneak peek of the movie before we come back for more questions.
Thank you.
Why explain to me again why you cover up?
For sure, it helps with my social anxiety. Nobody knows they look and they look away. It doesn't draw any attention because people don't want to look and stare.
We are all getting our first look at Octomom.
Octomom, Natalie Suleman.
Single woman, no job. She's obviously on government aid.
Nadia was voted as one of the most hated people in America.
At the time, my mom was getting a lot of death threats.
Natalie Suleman is a monster.
It was just a frenzy. It was all that playing on TV.
She has 6 other children.
This is a disgrace. Go into her home, take these kids away.
Everyone's laughing at you, Octomom.
I'd love to explain what happened and why I became Octomom. I've always wanted to be a mom. I wanted a big family. When I set my mind to achieving a goal, I achieved that goal. I think I may have overachieved with being a mom, though. A little too much there. I ended up getting diagnosed with endometriosis. Then I found Dr. Kamrava.
Kamrava implanted 7 embryos at one time. The recommendation is just 2 embryos.
The doctor transferred 8 embryos, and she knew that they were 8. She lied about it.
So did you lie for Dr. Kamrava?
I had just given birth to 8. I could not financially afford them. I was struggling. I was really desperate to make any money.
She got picked up for the welfare fraud case.
She had been getting these offers to do adult films and finally said yes.
There was this Vine where fame itself had the greatest potential to get some income for her kids.
When someone comes up to you at school and asks you, is your mom a stripper? You don't know what to say.
Octomom has checked herself into a rehab program.
My mom took a turn.
I'm gonna kill myself. Oh God, I'm gonna kill myself.
I knew that was the time to kill Octomom. I've been waiting a very, very long time to tell my true story, and I believe the world is ready to hear it.
The topic of my biological father has come up.
He's a donor, so we can't meet him because he's anonymous.
Why did you sit down with him?
I was the sperm donor.
I know you guys all have each other right now, but you guys are gonna have your own lives.
Our mom talks often about the real story, how it all started. It wasn't how everyone thinks it was.
My mom did everything in her power to protect her kids.
The main reason why we're doing all this is just get the truth out there.
This is our story, the real one.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Something you're thinking about in particular?
Yeah, that it's been a long time to share my story. Okay, you can go. Go on.
What do you want people to know, to understand, and to know and comprehend about you as a mom?
What I'd like people to know, and there's many different things I'd like people to know, but first and foremost, what takes precedence are my children. I would die for my kids. I live for my kids. I've devoted my entire life to caring for them. And my number one goal since I had my first, Elijah, he's going to be 24 in May. Soon. Number one goal is to keep them safe, healthy, and to raise well-adjusted, happy kids. That's all that matters to me. That's all that's ever mattered to me. I'm not Octomãe at all. My true character is the polar opposite, the total antithesis of the media made-up, dehumanized caricature that wasn't real. It's quite easy for people, the public, to project that misplaced hate onto something that's not human or perceived not to be human, let alone a mom. So it's easy for people to do so. But what I want people to know is I'm just a mom, and that's all that matters to me.
Fair enough. What values or lessons would you like your children to have once they become adults, and hopefully one day parents, fathers, or mothers?
Right. Number one, I've been raising my children to have a strong faith and strong relationship with God. I place God above absolutely everything in my life and my family, of course. If it weren't for God, I wouldn't have any family. And just to internalize the core values of family and love, unconditional love and acceptance, and to be humble and kind to everybody. Those are the most important values, I believe.
Thank you. We are going to show one more clip before we go to the questions from our media outlets from Latin America.
Thank you.
That explains the bleeding. 7 heartbeats. How many babies were you hoping for?
1.
I really wish you had some support here. There is a lot to consider. Bleeding is just one of the complications that comes with a multiple pregnancy. The chances of you carrying these babies to term is very, very slim. That's why implanting so many embryos is so dangerous.
Is there anything I can do to ensure they're healthy?
Yes. You can reduce a few to protect the safety of the others.
Selective reduction? No. I may have only planned for one child, but all of these babies are wanted. All of them.
What happened to following the advice of your doctor?
I won't select which babies to kill. I won't.
You could die, Nadia. Right, there is no precedent for this. I'm thinking about your safety and of your babies.
I strongly believe in a woman's right to choose, and this is my choice. Now I will ask again. What can I do to keep them all healthy?
Pray.
Naida, what is the difference between Natalie and Naida?
My birth name on my birth certificate says Natalie Suleman. And my dad was Middle Eastern, and his Middle Eastern family nicknamed me Nadia. So that's not even a legal name, but I knew both growing up. Prior to my mom's passing, she passed in 2014 of ovarian cancer. She asked me to go back to Natalie, and I complied. And then my dad passed in 2021, and he asked me to go back to Nadia. So a name is a name. It doesn't represent who we are, really. I don't really care. You can call me anything, and I'm desensitized at this point in time with even Octomãe. I don't care if people call my oldest boys call me Octo, Aki. So I don't take it seriously whatsoever.
So before we go to the questions, I have this following question. If you could change something, what would you change, if any?
If I could change something, you mean my past or present or anything?
Past. The past. Anything.
Past. I used to reflect on and regret not filing a lawsuit against the infertility doctor because I pretty much threw myself under the bus to protect him. if it weren't for his innovative IVF procedures, I wouldn't have been able to have any children. So my heart wouldn't let me, sue him. Though he did lose his license for medical malpractice and gross negligence. So for a while, years, I did regret not filing a lawsuit. But today I'm coming to peace with all of my past choices, and I just can't say I regret anything at this point in time.
Fair enough. Now we are going to do the questions and answers from our international press from Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Chile, Peru, Venezuela, and so many other countries.
Wow.
Mariana, can you please help me out?
Yes, of
Thank
course.
you.
Anaí Martino from Folha de São Paulo newspaper, Brazil.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
Natalie. Thank you for
Hi,
having
how
us.
are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Natalie, I would like to know how lonely does it feel to be a single mom of 14 kids? How long all those years?
Yeah.
I would like to know also how was your love life? Do you have someone? Do you have a boyfriend, or did you spend all those years by yourself? And did you feel very lonely?
No. Thank you for your question. I appreciate it. On the contrary, I've taken a vow of celibacy. It's been over 25 years. I'm just a little different, I'd say, than the norm. I've always been a bit, I guess, if you have to label me a bit asexual, but that's by choice. My whole life, my calling was to be a mom, not a significant other, not a wife, and that's just, I know it's a little different than what people would expect. Maybe boring, but yeah, if I didn't want or have any interest in being in a relationship with a partner before having kids, I certainly didn't want to date or do any of those typical, normal adult behaviors. When they were little and growing up, my life I devoted entirely to my kids. It works for me.
Thank you so much. Next question, please.
Emilio Josami from El Liberal newspaper, Argentina.
Muy buenas tardes, señora Natalie. Mi pregunta es, ¿cómo apoyar todo el proceso de juicio público que ha tenido? Y cuando digo juicio público es por las críticas que ha recibido de parte de la gente. Y por otra parte, ¿cuál es el mensaje que deja la película?
Well, without a doubt, it was incredibly challenging, and I never really allowed myself to pause and sit and process the emotions when I was going through the being a target of misplaced hate and condemnation by the world all around. My focal point was keeping my kids safe, healthy, well-adjusted. So I 100% delved into that responsibility and utilize coping mechanisms, rationalization, minimization, denial. I anticipated it, dissipating. I knew it would eventually die down, so I just kept myself safe, and I also constructively channeled my emotional pain and my stress into healthy outlets. Prayer, I have a strong relationship with God, and working out. If it weren't for the gym, I think I would have lost my mind many years ago. So yes, I had these constructive outlets and channels that I utilized for my mental health, plus leading a very healthy lifestyle. Being vegan and focusing on health for my kids and myself. That was really the way I coped with all the trauma.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Marcel Botelho from Estación Nerd, Brazil.
Hi, Mariana. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you? Good, thank you.
For many mothers, pregnancy is hard to fear, insecurity, and other feelings. Do you think your story can help other mothers?
That's hoping to help or inspire, other moms who feel like they can't continue to press on and continue to keep going despite any given circumstance. That is one of my primary reasons, other than sharing my true story. But that's one of my main reasons for sharing and collaborating in these projects. I want to help people. I worked as a counselor for many years. I worked in the mental health field for years. And that's been a passion of mine my whole life, to help others. If when you're in the serving profession, that's a core value. So that I hope and pray that mothers can watch my true story or read about it or see and just reflect on, well, wait a minute, I'm experiencing all this stress and maybe postpartum depression, or if she could do it, plus with all the hormone changes and all this, other challenges, plus being under the crush of the media frenzy and the public scrutiny and hate. If I could do it, survive throughout, plus come out the other side stronger, I'm hoping that will inspire other moms to press on despite any given circumstance.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Question, please.
Daniel Guerrero from El Espectador Newspaper, Colombia.
Hola Natalie, un saludo para ti. Gracias por estar acá con nosotros compartiendo este momento. Quería preguntarte qué fue lo que más te sorprendió e incluso llegó a incomodarte al ver tu historia y la de tus hijos llevada a la pantalla.
Wow. Thank you for the question. That's I love your question. And the truth is, with the movie, yes, it did trigger a lot of unresolved trauma, and I went through it crying watching it halfway through and the end with my mom, and that was a very painful time. I loved it though. I loved the movie. I thought it was beautiful and very, very accurate representation of what I went through in a few at least seasons of my life, at least. In regard to the docuseries, that was heavier emotionally. I could barely get through them. They were very raw, very real, and it really triggered inordinate trauma. It's to this time with my daughter Amira and my son Elijah as well. So we all actually ended up with post-traumatic stress disorder. I was diagnosed with that, and it just triggered the resurfacing of a lot of trauma for all three of us. It wasn't just me, that was, experiencing all the hate and the scrutiny and all of what the public did to me. It was my daughter Amira and Elijah as well. They experienced quite a bit of trauma too. The public needs to reflect on that. It's not just the mom, it's the kids the kids will experience, the good, the bad, all of it.
We continue with Giovanna Forcioni from Crescer Magazine, Brazil.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for having us here and taking your time to speak a little bit about the project. I would love to ask you one specific question about your personal journey. Your pregnancy through IVF had, sparked a lot of conversation and a public discussion about this topic. Now, looking back, do you think your story has changed the way people think and the way how people see fertility treatments nowadays?
Right. There's a few different answers to your question. From my personal experience, I went through infertility. I was diagnosed with endometriosis and fibroids and lesions. I couldn't conceive via natural procreation. The only way I was able to successfully conceive was through in vitro fertilization. So I went through 5.5 years of infertility. I started trying young, and thankfully I did, or else I would not have been able to have a child at all. So people believe or have this misconception that I just jumped into in vitro fertilization because I wanted a lot of kids. That's not true. I went through IUI intrauterine insemination first for years, and then found out, and I was diagnosed with this genetic reproductive condition, which my daughter Amira actually inherited. And I went through this, and in vitro fertilization was the last resort. And the doctor ended up losing his license for medical malpractice. There was a law that I believe changed subsequent to the octuplet, birth, and where they limit the amount of embryos transferred, which is far safer. My doctor did, engage in gross negligence, and with not only myself, but with other patients. I wasn't the only one. So I did cover for him for a while, for years. But the truth of the matter is he was extremely, he was extremely, not only neglectful, but wow, he was, the medical malpractice was far worse than I believe the public is aware of. He over-medicated. He would drug the patient during the time of the retrieval and transfer. When he did a double transfer, transferred 6, which was typical from my past reproductive history. He transferred 5, and I only had 1, a singleton it's called. And then he transferred 6. I had twins. So transferred 6, my uterus was heavily contracting. I was sedated on the table. What that means is that's not anesthesia. That was a cocktail of drugs he gave me. And he ended up asking if I wanted the rest of the embryos transferred because of my uterus contracting, which he believed expelled all of the embryos that were there. I was under the influence of his medication, his drugs that he gave me, so I said yes, and I wasn't lucid, and he transferred 6 more. And I believed for the first several months that the whole pregnancy was terminating, and long story, but you'll see it. You'll literally see what happened in the movie. I Was Octomom. It shows exactly the details of what happened. And I discuss it in the docuseries in absolute detail. But they did change the recommendations for infertility doctors to transfer far, far fewer to reduce the risks.
Natalie, we have another question from Caracol Colombia. Caracol Colombia would like to know if you were part of the production of the movie, meaning if you have any kind of decision on picking the actress or preparing the actress to become you. And also, he would like to know how was working with the actress and with the camera crew from the Lifetime movie.
I actually was not physically part of the actual production, and they chose this incredible actress, Kristen. She did a phenomenal job. She's a very, very talented emotional actress. I was blown away. So I actually saw it with her, and I talked with her a while on the phone. She's a new mom, amazing, gifted actress. I was so grateful that she was chosen. And in regard to, I was behind the scenes, meaning I did have that opportunity to collaborate in that. I have, since graduate school, I've written a manuscript, and I shared my full manuscript with the screenplay writer. So in regard to the screenplay, I was able to then review it and edit and give recommendations on this and that. And this happened exactly this way, not this way. So, and then they vet it and make sure that was 100% accurate, and all of it was. So I was so excited because I'm looking forward to publishing. I've been trying to publish my book for almost 20 years now. So I'm absolutely optimistic that it will happen.
Question for you, from Luis Valdovinos del Sol, Mexico. He would like to know what kind of teaching, advice, or lesson this difficult process of having 8 kids at once have teach you and can teach the audience. That's the first part of the question. And then, do you think your story can inspire other people to be more careful to be more responsible in the way they choose doctors and procedures?
Wow, yes. A few questions there. And first and foremost, I do believe in regard to parenting, I lead with love. I lead with unconditional love, positive regard, acceptance, and also to implement consistent structure, discipline, and consequences. With my oldest 6, I learned how not to raise kids because I was only nurturing and loving, and never I failed to implement the discipline kids need, like the air they breathe. With my octuplets, I finally was able then to have that other last chance to incorporate, that healthy balance of unconditional love, positive regard, acceptance, and structure, discipline, and consequences. Is it a lot of work? It is relentless. It has been years and years and years. Imagine potty training 8 babies at 2 years old alone. It's nonstop. And I've learned for myself, I've learned patience with raising my kids, especially with one of my older kids, Aiden. He is now 20, and he's autistic. He's nonverbal. He's total care. And a lot of my time, energy is devoted to caring for him. He's in school right, at this moment, so I'm able to be here with you. But he is 24-hour care, and he alone, in and of himself, has taught me 100% unconditional love and patience. And he's been an absolute blessing to all of my family. And in regard to parents out there, or couples or single parents who want to be a parent, absolutely do your research. Do your research. Be very diligent and careful in regard to a doctor you choose, especially in regard to infertility. You need to be very, very careful. I thought I was being careful. I didn't know that it was unusual or dangerous for him to transfer 5 or 6 each time, not just with the octuplets, but each time I went in, he transferred far too many than what was recommended. Right. So be careful, please.
Thank you for being so honest and candid about it. La prensa argentina would like to know, how was your pregnancy and how long was your delivery?
Right. Well, if you don't mind, I'll back up a little in regard to my pregnancies. Although it was impossible for me to conceive naturally and I had to go through the in vitro fertilization route, infertility, so it was very challenging to get pregnant. I had incredibly easy pregnancies. So I was actually, for the first 6 kids, I was in school full time. And I was working towards I graduated college and I was working towards my master's degree while having 6 children on my own. People don't know that. And I would go back. This is going to sound absolutely insane, but this is my life. I don't know how I did it today, but back then my energy was unbelievably high. I had a lot of natural energy. I would go right back to college. I'd bring the babies with me. The older ones would go to a little children's center, and I would take along my twins. I gave birth to twins in graduate school, and I went back after a few days. I know it sounds insane. I just did it. I kept moving. I'm very, 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 very active. I believe being that active has allowed me to just stay so healthy mentally and physically. So I was very blessed not to have any complications really. And the octuplet pregnancy, I had 0 complications, which is just not heard of. The only time the reason I delivered at 31 weeks is one of the babies, Jonah, had stopped growing. So I had to make that probably the most challenging choice a parent can make. You either deliver a baby early, and all of them are more at risk for developmental disabilities or complications, just so he survives. I had 24 hours to make the decision, or allow him to pass in utero for all the kids to have a better chance of survival. I made the decision to obviously deliver because I didn't want any of them. I couldn't have lived with myself if he had passed. So 31 weeks they delivered them, but I had no complications, which is not heard of, especially with high order multiple. The doctors, many doctors at the hospital credited my health. I'll give all credit to God.
Thank you. Now, Chile would like to know, you didn't have a beloved relationship with the press.
No.
And now you are in another press conference. How do you feel facing the press, talking about your life today?
How I feel? I don't know how. I feel glad, and I am very grateful. Very grateful. I'm blessed that I'm given this opportunity to share my true story. I'm actually extremely grateful to Lifetime to allow me that platform to share my truth safely, and to the media for finally listening and, understanding the truth rather than, having these little sound bites that are all misinformation and taking something and spinning it into a false narrative and indoctrinating that false narrative into the public's minds. I believe the media is starting to take a moment to really look at the truth. And I've been given a lot of, apologies from reporters and from media, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you. Mario Guedes from Brazil, from Jig Pop, would like to ask you the following. I was wondering if it's too early or not to know if we'll have a sequel to this film, perhaps about the challenges of raising 14 kids and their teenage years.
Right. I was okay. Again, I keep saying grateful what we are. We're blessed and grateful to have these opportunities to be a part of these projects. I can't answer yes or no yet. I don't know. We have to have our typical family meetings and make decisions. And whatever, my family together, collaboratively, we have to make that decision. I'm not a compartmentalized caricature that the public saw, that Octomom caricature. I'm a mom with my family. We make decisions together. So I'm not going to be the sole one to make that decision. I'm not a parent to force my children to do anything, especially not put them out there. So that's one other little truth I'd like to share is I've never been one to really even put my kids in. I've declined reality shows since they were babies. We've had opportunities. I've said no because having a bachelor's in child and adolescent development, I'm well aware that it can be very detrimental to a child's developmental process to film them on an ongoing basis. Look at a lot of child actors. They don't turn out, more often than not all, but they don't turn out too well adjusted or healthy mentally. So my goal was to protect my kids. That's why I allowed myself to be, and that's why I exploited myself, thinking I, as an adult, could handle. And I could barely survive after what I've been through as Octomom, playing the role of Octomom. So I'm actually, that is one thing I will always be happy I did, is keep them safe and protect them, rather than put them out there. And nowadays you've got all the social media, and it's so normalized for parents to put their kids out there into whatever it is, YouTube, TikTok. I'm against it. I've always been. So that's just me. I'm very protective, overprotective.
Really, thank you, because you didn't have any obligation to share these powerful insights about your life and your kids and how you protect them. And I think that allow us to get to know a totally different angle of Natalie. And we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to you.
We have thank you. We have 2 more questions. Don't go away. Please, Mariana, let's do this.
Yes, Anaí Martino again from Folia de San Pablo, Brazil.
Hi again, Natalie. I understand you. I understand you changed your version, because I remember at the time of your pregnancy, the media, the press said that you wanted the multiple pregnancy, that you agreed with this. So that didn't happen. Do you consider yourself a victim of the doctor? Did you change the story at the time?
No, I didn't change any story. Just the truth was never told. I had no voice. So the media, particularly the tabloid media, they were that's the voice you heard. That's the voice the public heard. They made up one false narrative after another. I was in the background trying my best to say, well, no, that didn't happen. This happened, and no one heard me, because the media, we need to know, you are in the media, they're the most powerful and, you know, influential entity in the world. They can convince the public. An angel is the devil and vice versa, based solely on the biased narrative they spin and indoctrinate to the public's minds. This could be both good and bad. For me, it was all negative because I didn't have any voice whatsoever. And it was, please understand too, in the 2000s, this was the pinnacle of tabloid media sensationalism. I was more or less a guinea pig. I don't like to call myself a victim. I didn't have to go back to the doctor, to the infertility doctor, to try to have one more. I wanted one more. But I chose to go back, and the public still doesn't know why. You will see why in the movie. I was Octomãe. But I have Aiden, I mentioned him. He's profoundly autistic, nonverbal, and total care. And I was, as a parent, I had guilt. I was going through guilt and grief. And if any parent experiences a guilt or grief, they make decisions sometimes based off of that guilt and grief. And my decision was I wanted to give one of my other kids, Caleb, a typical sibling. I was going through grieving with Aiden, knowing that he was developmentally disabled, and I had a lot of pain, and I unfortunately projected what I thought my son Caleb, he's one of the twins, wanted. So that was classic projection on my part, and I wanted one more. The truth of why I went back to have one more, finally, light will be shown. It will finally be told. I never wanted fame. I never wanted to be in the public eye. I have a lot of social anxiety I've had my whole life. I'm very introverted, extremely introverted actually. And I've been hiding my whole life. In college, I've never wanted even people looking at me, let alone what's the irony? It's a twisted irony really when you think about it. I wanted no one to be around me. I go out of my way even today to avoid crowds. And there's people out there, you know, in this world that are just foaming at the mouth to be famous, and I wanted nothing to do with people in general. So it's not only is the truth finally surfacing, which I'm grateful for, it's just, to me, it's kind of sad because I've been living a life for 16 years, over 16 years, where the public perceives me to be the complete antithesis, the polar opposite of who I truly am. But better late than never.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I want to share with everybody the last clip that we want to share today. This is about Natalie and her kids. Please watch out before we go to more questions.
Give me a snapshot of who's who in the family.
The oldest, Elijah. He told me like God put them in my life to keep me safe.
The watcher.
To watch me.
Yeah.
Like I joked for years, that's mom, that's dad. That's mom, that's dad. And then they're my parents, but they're not.
She's like a child in an adult body.
Oh, it's okay. So gay.
Joshua. He is by far the funniest person and super, super smart and intelligent and just caring and a wonderful husband and dad. This is my granddaughter. She's the sweetest little thing.
Thank you.
I know, it's true.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear her talk about me right next to me.
Aiden, you're obsessed with that yellow duck. And then there's Aiden, who is nonverbal, severely autistic. Why are you so obsessed with the yellow duck, huh? Where are you going? Where are you going?
Where are you going, Aiden?
Where are you going? Caleb and Calissa, they are fraternal twins. They're 18 years old now. I'm gonna check real quick.
What's going on right now, Kayla?
Nothing.
She's checking Amir's location because she's at a basketball game right now. She'll do this periodically. One time we were at Josh's baby shower, and everyone was there, and I see her pull out her phone. And Amira is right next to her. She pulls out her phone and looks at Amir's location.
Oops, wrong person. Sorry.
Hi, my name's Noah.
Hi, my name is Maya.
Hello, my name's Isaiah.
Hello, my name is Naraya.
Hi, my name's Jeremiah.
Hi, my name is Jonah.
Hi, my name's Josiah.
Hi, my name is Makai.
They said that it was like we were like a miracle of all 8 of us being born at the same time.
When I was in elementary school, I remember like telling my friend, I'm like, oh yeah, these are all my siblings. And then they're like, oh wait, then why are they in the same grade? And I was like, oh wait, it's because we were all born at the same time. They're like, all 8 of you were born at the same time? I was like, yeah. And then they're like, And they were like, wait, that's not normal. I said, that's not normal? They said, no. Like, why would having 8 kids at the same time be normal? And then I'm like, oh wait, having my picture on the internet, that's not really normal.
I want everyone to see the truth of what really happened, not the lies of the media, but the whole story of in the beginning when we were born.
Okay. Now we have last question from Mexico. Mariana, can you help me out, please?
Yeah, Juan Carlos García from CEO Noticias, Mexico.
Hola, buena tarde. Bueno, hemos visto aquí en México que las mamás de uno de los hijos se enferma, entran en una locura tremenda y es entendible. Ahora, con muchísimos hijos, ¿cómo fue enfrentar esa parte y cómo fue la rutina para visitar al médico con los hijos y después con los 8? Porque si se enfermaba uno, me imagino que se enfermaban todos. Si nos puede contar un poquito más, por favor.
Right. Thank you for your question. Yes, we've been through that. I remember Jonah, he had some ear infections when he was little. It didn't last too long. Oh my goodness, I'm still mesmerized by how my octuplets, not one of them has been truly sick. Like not one of them has had any kind of disability. They never went through that, where there's higher multiples, let's say quadruplets, even triplets and higher. And they have a lot of, a physical disability or mental disability, or they get chronic infections. Or my kids have never had anything. They're extremely healthy. All my older kids rarely ever had a cold. I'm beyond blessed. And I also do know about health and fitness, and I've been feeding them extremely healthfully throughout their life since they were little. I think that may have something to do with why they're so healthy as well. But yeah, we're very, very blessed. So rarely do people get sick. Sometimes it doesn't last long. The only one out of my 14 kids is disabled. That's Aiden. And he was born with profound autism. Yeah. So, and my life revolves around Aiden, really. All my kids, but especially Aiden, because he's total care.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Well, Natalie, don't move. Stay with us. Vamos a darle despedida a todos y cada uno de ustedes. Gracias por acompañarnos a este evento de prensa con Natalie Suleman. No se pierdan la verdadera historia de Octomãe, mis octillizos, solamente por Lifetime. Es una película original de Lifetime Movies, producida por mujeres y para mujeres, y contando la historia verdadera de Natalie Suleman, como ella nos ha contado el día de hoy. Así que no se pierdan, solamente por Lifetime, en el Día de las Madres, una programación espectacular, en el Superman, como le llamamos a esta programación espectacular de Lifetime, en donde incluimos a Octomãe con Natalie Suleman. Gracias a todos y hasta la próxima. Natalie, don't move, because we are having a surprise for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Remember me? I am Natalie Suleman. At one point, I was one of the most hated people in America. I was Octomãe.
Your name is plastered everywhere. Octomom is a welfare mom. Octomom had 8 babies just to be famous. These are all lies.
I'm taking them home this weekend, and I'm going back to normal life.
You're infamous. Normal life is no longer. There's been death threats.
People want me dead?
You and the babies.
That was always a dream of mine, to have a large family.
You have been called. You're responsible.
Mama's here. So cute. I love you.
What are you doing?
I'm working to feed my family.
What are these?
We have an offer for $1 million. You're the star.
I have to sell stories to take care of my kids.
Everything I do revolves around my children. You might think you know Octomãe, but you don't know me.